So you are more than likely stuck inside and decided to watch the one and only quarantine film from 2008 because you're quarantined yourself and life is an awful and lonely place right now. And you're running out of things to watch. Please, someone help me. Luckily, this film distracted you for a good hour and a half, but now you are thoroughly confused by that ending. What does it all mean? Well, don't worry, because today we are going to break down all of those unanswered questions you have and try to explain it in the easiest way possible. Hello everyone, Jared here, and 2008's Quarantine seems to be the cool, hip thing to watch right now, and guess what? It's currently streaming on Crackle for free right now. But man, does this movie really paint a grim, dark world where people are stuck inside? Like, that would never happen, right? Well, don't worry, today we are going to be diving into all of the details in this film, all the way to the ending, explaining the ending, and sort of the influences that the directors had for the ending and throughout this film. So sit back and relax as we explain this 2008 film, Quarantine. No, it's allergies, no. So it is safe to say if you're watching this video, then you watched Quarantine, or maybe you fell down a YouTube rabbit hole. Honestly, who knows? If not, here's a quick refresher.
Quarantine opens with television reporter Angela Vidal and cameraman Scott as they shoot a nightly news segment involving the Los Angeles Fire Department and the brave firefighters whom put their lives on the line. Firefighters Jake and Fletcher, who has a sick handlebar mustache, I mean, look at this, all aboard ladies, are the two showing Angela around, filling her in on the day-to-day life of a firefighter and showing her the pole hole. Nope, this isn't one of those glory hole porn rooms, it's where the fire pole is at, silly. Receiving an alert, Angela and Scott tag along on the fire truck to a nearby emergency call. Upon arriving, it has been noted that tenant Mrs. Espinoza has been screaming. As police, firefighters, and the film crew make their way up to her apartment, Mrs. Espinoza is found coughing, bloody. Honestly, if you've ever seen a movie, you know that this bitch is a straight-up zombie. Not to quote the opening of Jurassic Park, but shoot her! Of course, things go south with Mrs. Espinoza ripping the neck out of one of the police officers. However, upon trying to get medical assistance, everyone discovers that the apartment doors are locked from the outside. Now all sorts of shit hits the fan when Fletcher, aka Mustache Man, is attacked by Mrs. Espinoza, leaving him in critical condition as he smashes his mouth. And then I saw her face. I'm a believer. Really? Not the time. And face into the ground floor. Officer Danny lights up Mrs. Espinoza, shooting her several times. The CDC boards up the building, threatening to kill anyone who tries to leave. More tenants begin to show signs of some sort of illness, or maybe it's bronchitis like what Brianna has. You're not fooling anyone, Brianna. Lawrence, a veterinarian, claims that the symptoms the infected have of inability to swallow, temperature, upset stomach, diarrhea. Yay, that's abysmal! Okay, not those last two, but these symptoms are closely related to rabies. If you show symptoms, you are not going to make it. Several CDC agents with machine guns come inside to take brain samples, which turns bad very quickly when all but one are killed, revealing that the reason the building was under quarantine is because a dog had been taken to the vet the day prior, had become violent, and killed or infected all of the other animals, therefore tracking the dog back to the apartment. All hell now breaks loose as more and more of the tenants are showing signs of infection, even the dogs in the apartment. People are trying to escape and being shot by militarized CDC agents on the outside as Angela, firefighter Jake, and cameraman Scott grab the landlord's keys and make a daring escape to the sewers below the apartment complex and out of the sight of the CDC. Things take a turn for the worst as Jake is killed and infected, forcing the other two upstairs to the penthouse to find an alternative way out of this quarantined madness.
Now that we're all caught up, let's get into the closing portions of this film where some big reveals are made, where Angela and Scott wind up at the end of this all, and sort of the main source of this virus that is really plaguing these tenants in quarantine. Okay, Angela and Scott, the cameraman, are now forced into the upper levels of the building because, you know, vicious, killer zombie type creatures, blah, blah, blah. They find themselves in what appears to be the penthouse that was rented by some man from Boston mentioned earlier in the film. However, their biggest fears come true when they discover that this penthouse apartment is more of a laboratory than an apartment. Cages after cages of rats are stacked along one another with many different medical instruments, and the walls spattered with newspaper clippings of different events. After a quick view over the material, the two realize that the former apartment tenant was none other than a doomsday cultist. He or she more than likely had been a member of this cult that wanted to better the world, so they broke into a chemical weapons compound and stole this rabies-esque virus. Showing more of this evidence in the newspaper clippings on the walls, the name Armageddon virus is shown big and bold on one of the newspapers. Is this what the name of the virus is? Then discovering a tape player, the two play it, only to discover it's nothing but mish-mouth nonsense, or honestly Rocky Balboa mumbling, who knows?
No way, Apollo. You just wanna you
Still looking for a way to escape, a trap door to the attic springs open, scaring the two, including myself. I'm pretty sure I peed a little bit at this part. Searching in the upper attic with the camera, a quick shot of a mutated young boy is seen swatting at the camera. What the heck is up there in the attic? At this time, the camera's light has been broken by the young child, and Scott must now resort to night vision. The old Outlast video game camera with night vision. I hope no creepy looking creature. Oh Jesus, what is that thing? The two of them are not alone in the penthouse, as a thin, gangly, and ghoulish man is seen blindly banging around the makeshift laboratory they are inside. What is this thing? Who is this thing? Accidentally making a noise. Scary Terry, this is what we're gonna call this ghoulish looking guy from now on, attacks Scott, causing the camera to fall to the ground. As Angela recovers the camera, it appears that Scary Terry is full on eating out Scott. I mean, like eating him. You know what I mean. Trying to make one last ditch effort to leave, Angela and the camera are again attacked by Scary Terry, but it appears Scary Terry only managed to get the camera, as the last few shots are of Angela on the ground. Lonely and afraid, Angela inches her way towards any sort of exit, inch by inch, step by step, day by day. Step by step, day by day. Seriously, guys, you need to stop editing in 90s references that no one's going to understand. As it appears to be clear, Angela takes a sigh of relief, only to be yanked backward into the dark abyss of the makeshift lab. The end. Whoa, hold on a sec. Wasn't this whole movie an exact shot-for-shot remake of 2007's Wreck? I mean, some things looked fishy, but that ending absolutely gives it away. I mean, think about it. The reporters and the firefighters, the apartment building and the distressed tenant, the creepy newspaper articles, and that exact same ending. Just look at this. That's right, Quarantine is an exact shot-for-shot American remake of the 2007 Spanish hit film Wreck. Alright, so that is how Quarantine ends for our two main characters, or rather main character and cameraman, but there are still quite a few questions about this so-called Armageddon virus and that gangly man upstairs. Well, don't worry, we got you covered. Okay, so the film doesn't entirely dive in deep on the Armageddon virus, where it came from, and what it's being used for, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and Scary Terry. So according to the blurry and quick-moving scenes focusing on the newspaper articles in the makeshift laboratory, the tenant had been a member, or former member, of a doomsday cult that had broken into a chemical weapons facility and stole this quote-unquote Armageddon virus. As we continue to look at the articles and take context clues from pieces of the film, this is a strain of virus with very similar characteristics to that of rabies. Foaming mouth, trouble swallowing, fever, but we also know that this can affect animals and humans in a matter of minutes rather than days. So essentially this virus is a buffed up, aggressive, and weaponized version of rabies, which would explain the way the animals and humans had acted and the reason the CDC took such precautions. Also, one of the newspaper articles mentioned that it wiped out a whole tribe on a remote island in very little time. So tests were run by individuals to discover whether or not this virus could do its job. But what about that man, aka Scary Terry, and the young boy up in the attic? Well, more than likely, we can conclude that these were two of the very first test subjects by the doomsday cult guy renting the apartment upstairs. I mean, it could have been himself, but why test on yourself, you know? complications, you don't know what's gonna happen. The reason we can say Scary Terry is more than likely patient zero is because tenants mentioned that they had only heard sounds coming from upstairs for weeks without seeing any people. And also the fact he seems to have some sort of wits about him. Everyone else that was infected went absolutely bananas right away, while Scary Terry, sure, he went crazy, but was a bit more calm and collected, meaning the initial dosage was different, or he was adapted into this virus after a longer time of having it. Now, rounding all of this out, why the name Armageddon virus? What sort of significance does the name have? Well, simply we could look up the definition of Armageddon, which is a dramatic and catastrophic conflict typically seen as likely to destroy the world or the human race. Therefore, these doomsday cult members were bringing upon the end of the world or an event big enough to wipe out a significant portion of the population. Or another theory could be that the Armageddon virus is actually paying homage and tribute to the 10-year anniversary of the hit Michael Bay film Armageddon, where a massive asteroid is barreling towards Earth and about to end human existence, but in order to save the day, top researchers figure that they must drill into the center of the asteroid and blow that some beach into smithereens. But what is the most efficient way to do it? Nope, not train NASA team members how to use a giant oil drills. Instead, let's get oil rig workers, Bruce Willis, Ben Affleck, hell, even Steve Buscemi, train them to be astronauts because that's an easy profession. Send them oil rig boys up to their asteroid and drill deep inside of it like one of those tushy adult videos, you know, the ones where the guy goes deep in. Never mind. So the second theory is the Armageddon virus is an homage and almost tribute to the classic 1998 Michael Bay sci-fi action movie Armageddon. But more than likely, it's just referring to the end of the world as we know it. Cue REM.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
So that is it, a horror thriller that showcases how a deadly, contagious virus really spreads amongst a lot of people in a quick amount of time, causing them to stay inside and be quarantined. Like, that could never happen, right? Anyways, what did you guys think of that ending and those obscure references to the one and only Michael Bay? I want to know in the comments down below. Anyways, though, as always, thank you so much for watching. Watch some more videos up there or right over there, you know, brand new content here on the JBuck Studios channel all the time. I love doing these ending explained poorly videos because they don't make any sense. You're getting some facts, but a lot of them don't make any sense. I'm making up the ending, but I kind of think that they could veer that way. Follow all of my social media down there. Be sure to like this video. Subscribe to the JBuck Studios channel because believe me, there's a lot more of these coming soon. And until next time, we'll see you later.